Assalamualaikum and a very good day. We are from Group 2. We will be presenting Language and the Brain. What is language and the brain? The definition of language and the brain. A complex organ that controls memory, motor skills, thought, emotion, vision, temperature, hunger, touch, breathing, and every process that regulates our body, human brains. Language is a significant part of what makes us human. There is a certain part in the brain that is responsible for understanding words, sentences, and communicating procedures. It was all started back in the 19th century where Phineas P. Gage initiates the location of language in the brain. Now, we're getting into the study of neuromechanisms that control the comprehensions, production, and acquisition of language in the human brain.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Zahirah binti Wahiduddin, metric number 214341. My theme for the concept language and the brain is slips of the tongue. The definition of slips of the tongue. Can you give me a radiomestic? Is that dog fluffy beak yours? Don't forget to toilet the flush. These are the slips of the tongue, and some of the slips are called as spoonerism, which is a reversal of the initial letters in the syllables of two or more words. For example, pen me your lamp. The actual sentence is, lend me your pen. Slips of the tongue are usually happen out of conscious. Some people do not even realize that they have slipped over their words, but they still thought that they have delivered their contents properly. In another case, some people talk too fast or they misarrange their words. So it shows that the slips of the tongues happen quite frequently and common among the folks. They might not even know that they got caught in speech error. The relationship between the concept and the theme. Tongue tips and slips are caused by difficulties in engaging brain and speech production to process altogether flawlessly. The major cause of speech error is the human brain, where the left side of the brain is responsible in basic linguistic processing, and human cannot literally communicate linguistically without the right hemisphere either, because of its importance that are involved in pragmatics. One real-world example of slips of the tongue. Burden slip, an error of speech that happens when a person says something different from what he or she intended. In technical terms, it is known as parapraxis. It occurs when someone unconsciously says something different from what they have in mind. Sigmund Freud, a psychiatrist who interpreted that the slips are the disclosure of the contents of the unconscious mind. For an example, a man tries to tell his friend that he dislikes vanilla. Vanilla is the last flavor that I will choose in my life. Instead of saying vanilla, he might accidentally say his favorite flavor, which is chocolate. His friend might interpret that he slipped to mean that he dislikes chocolate flavor, while the truth is, he wants to say that he actually dislikes vanilla flavor. That's all from me. Thank you for listening attentively.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. I am Shazina and I will be explaining about neurolinguistics today. So what exactly is neurolinguistics? Simply said, it is the study of the human brain's neuromechanisms controlling comprehension, acquisition, and production of the language. Methods and theories are actually drawn from other fields for neurolinguistics. What are these other fields? Well, they include neuroscience, linguistics, cognitive science, communication disorders, and also neuropsychology. For those who study and research the psychological processes and mechanisms that allow the brain to process language-related information and evaluate the theories of psycholinguistics using certain methods like physiology, brain imaging, electropsychology, and computer modeling are called neurolinguists. So, what is the relationship between linguistics and the concept that we're going to talk today, language and brain? Well, obviously, neuro refers to the brain, in which it explains about the physical components also as the mental and emotional components of our neurology, mainly regarding how our central nervous system and senses influence and produce our subconscious and consciousness. As for linguistics, it refers to language, the language we use and the ways we communicate with others and ourselves, how the state of our mind and body are revealed through our spoken and unspoken communication, and it is the path to the inner workings of the mind, including feelings, pictures, words, smells, sounds, images, tastes, and etc. Of course. So, for neurolinguistics, what is the real-world example of the concept? Well, let me introduce you NLP, also known as Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It is a psycholinguistic approach created by Richard Bandler and John Grinder when it comes to communication, personal development, and also psychotherapy. NLP is used in a broad spectrum of skills such as counseling, sports, military, law, business, education, performing arts, and even more. So, these two guys, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, claim that neurological processes, language, and behavior patterns share a connection. They are changeable in order to model the skills of successful people such as Steve Jobs or Anthony Robbins, in order for you to achieve specific goals in life. And it has been practiced by therapists in order to cure mental illnesses such as anxiety, phobias, PTSD, depression, ADHD, schizophrenia, and many more through language and visualization techniques. The techniques are highly beneficial on one's personal growth, and some of the benefits include building effective communication between our consciousness and unconscious mental processes. As a result, it increases one's problem-solving skills and creativity. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Putrin Alia binti Megat Muhammad Yusof. So for the next topic, we're going to talk about fairy tale. So the definition of fairy tale also known as wild children. They are the kind of children that had lived throughout their life with no contact with other humans. They are completely isolated from other people, so that is why they had no interaction with other humans at all. And for those who are inhabiting an animal existence such as jungle or forest, they talk and speak. They most likely speak and think like an animal. So in short, fairy children has lack a sense of self. They aren't able to speak nor think like humans, and most likely impossible for them to understand human languages. So, what is the relation between the concept and the theme, which is the language and the brain? So, as you can see, that fairy children has no basic skills of communication, of social skills, which is supposed to be normally laid in the process of enculturation. It happens because they most likely to be either severely abused or due to the traumatic past that they aren't allowed to speak, to say something like that. And it is theorized that children who are not exposed to language before their start of puberty, which is around the age above 10, may won't have the potential to learn language fully. So one real example case of fairy tale is a girl called Jeannie. It's studied by Susan Curtis, a UCLA linguistic professor. So about her story, she was born in 1957, was one of the fairy tale cases who was a victim of abuse, neglect, and social isolation. Her father, Clark Wiley, would lock her out in a room when she was around 20 months old, tied her up and forbade her from having interaction with other people, and left her severely malnourished. So she was beaten up, and she wasn't allowed to talk, and would bark at her like a mad dog if she tried to misbehave. In result, because of his very abusive father, she couldn't speak like a normal human, although she could speak a few words like blue, orange, mother, and go. And because they found her at age 14, it is impossible for her to learn the language fully again. So that's her story. So that is all, and thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alisa Balkis binti Monasrul, and today I will be presenting Wernicke's aphasia. What is Wernicke's aphasia? Wernicke's aphasia or receptive aphasia is a language disorder that makes it hard for you to understand words and communicate. This disorder is caused by damage to the part of your brain that controls language. It leads to a loss of language ability and can be very frustrating. People who has Wernicke's aphasia can understand words, and this makes it difficult for them because they speak with regular rhythm and grammar, but they are not aware what they were saying is nonsense. So, for example, people with Wernicke's aphasia, they may say, "You know that model Pinkert, and that I want to get him round and take care of him like you want before." As you can see, it is very difficult to understand what the person is trying to say because they speak in a long complete speech but without meaning. The way that the theme is connected to the concept is because Wernicke's aphasia is a disorder that is caused by damage to the brain. Wernicke's aphasia typically caused by stroke-induced damage of the language comprehension regions in the left temporal parietal in the brain. I think that the brain and language are two very important things that humans use to communicate. Without the brain, people can't understand or speak other language, and without the language, people will have trouble to communicate. Both of these things are vital in our lives, and Wernicke's aphasia is a disorder caused by brain damage and makes it difficult for people to socialize. So this is the part the Wernicke's aphasia, Wernicke's area in our brain. So one of the cases that I found that is related to Wernicke's aphasia is a 66-year-old woman named RC who was studied by Ho in 1993. One of RC's symptoms is RC developed Wernicke's aphasia, which was characterized by neologistic jargon, a severe auditory comprehension deficit, two left hemisphere strokes. For 8 months post-stroke, an intervention which was aimed at managing RC's rambling communicative style and improving auditory comprehension met with no communicative or linguistic improvement. Some patients who has Wernicke's aphasia can regain the communication with speech-language therapy, but in many cases, some aphasia remains following this initial recovery period, such as RC's case, which means not everyone can recover from Wernicke's aphasia. That is all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Faridina binti Muhammad Asri and my metric number is 217091. For my part, I am going to present about broadcast aphasia. What is broadcast aphasia? Broadcast aphasia is also known as expressive aphasia, in which it is a severe language disorder. Broadcast aphasia is a non-fluent type of aphasia. It is characterized by a significant reduction in spontaneous speech flow and a lack of regular grammatical structure. So, people with broadcast aphasia have a few difficulties, such as difficulty in forming complete sentences, difficulty to follow directions, and difficulty with full comprehension. They also poor in grammar, and they find it's really hard for them to read and writing. For a better understanding, here's an example. If a normal person wanted to eat spaghetti, they will say, "I want to eat spaghetti," but for people with broadcast aphasia, they will say spaghetti me. Broadcast aphasia is caused by damage to the broadcast region of the brain, which is found in the frontal lobe, that usually on the left side. This area was found by a French surgeon named Pierre-Paul Broca in 1860s. This area is also known as anterior speech cortex. Damage to broadcast area could affect the use of spontaneous speech and motor control speech. There is also a few common causes that lead to broadcast aphasia. For example, having a stroke that occurs when the blood supply is interrupted or reduced, or a brain tumor, or an injury to the brain like a severe blow to the head, or gunshot wound, and so on. He is one of an example of the patient that have broadcast aphasia, Sarah Scott.
an 18-year-old teenager who first got to know she is one of the broadcast aphasia's patients. On 13 May 2009, she was reading aloud in the class, but suddenly she could not speak at all or even to put on her slip-off shoe back on again. Then she was rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately, Sarah was confirmed having a stroke by the results of CT and MRI scans. They were shocked since Sarah did not have any signs that a stroke was about to happen. Sarah's aphasia is considered as a severe disorder since Sarah had the difficulty to talk or even swallow, and even worse, her right side body was paralyzed. She could not understand the concept of numbers and colors. Sarah also could barely say yes or no to respond. But with the help of an iPhone and apps, Sarah managed to communicate again. Moreover, she went to tons of face-to-face and online therapies to improve her communication skills. Moving forward, almost a decade, Sarah now has a job and engaged.
That is all from us. Thank you.